So excited about this. I'm building what I call the perfect bass boat. I'm sure you're thinking, what makes my bass boat perfect? The answer is very simple on that. I'd say my boat is the perfect blend of functionality. It's durable and has a sleek design. The boat just looks good. Fortunately, Falcon boats are built right here in my home state of South Carolina, so I've had the privilege of having my hands on every single bird that I've ever owned. I've grown to know most of the people at Falcon, and a lot of the techs that build these boats, I know them by first name now. I can truthfully say, after 7 years of building the perfect bass boat, that I trust these guys with my livelihood. From as far south as Texas and Florida, and as far north as New York and Canada, I can truthfully say I've put these boats to the test. I know what they're capable of. With a new tournament season upon us, it's my favorite time of the year. This is the process where I begin to build what I consider the perfect bass boat. Hey, so there's a lot of meticulous details that go into building a boat that you probably don't think about. In 2018, I built my first Falcon 205. Here we go, moment of truth right here. One of the things that drew me to a Falcon was the fact that the boat seemed to be durable. The construction seemed like it was built for the boat to last. That was really important to me as a tournament angler, and I'll dive deeper into why I think that's an important factor for anybody's boat buying process. First thing we gotta do, we gotta pick out some colors. You probably wouldn't believe it, but the paint is the first step in building a bass boat. You can see this process start right here.
So all he's painting right now, all that is just my hull stripe. That's the only color I'll have is that stripe. It's along the bottom of the boat.
After the paint, then they start to add the glass to the stringer system, the transom, and some of the compartments. You can see it's a pretty intense process getting the glass inside the mold on that stringer system.
How long does it usually take to finish? 30 minutes?
Shortly after that, they begin the process of spraying foam in all the compartments. The purpose in the foam is obviously to insulate the compartments that need to be insulated. It adds some rigidity, and it also quiets the boat down from water slap against the hull. Now his next step is to flip the mold. He's gonna pick up just one side of it. In the final stages of the build process, the boat really starts to take shape. That's when they'll add wiring harnesses, lids, carpeting, and all the electronics will be added to the boat as well. Watching the build process of these boats every year was always my favorite thing to do. I was simply amazed at the attention to detail on these boats. Okay, this is mine right here. I told you it was gonna look a lot different. Solid red this year. I just wanted something bold. But as far as rigging on my boat, I keep my boats pretty simple. You see a lot of guys that have boats that have 5, 6 graphs, a lot of electronics and a lot of doodads on it. I just found personally, like, I like to keep my boat simple. So I brought it out here in the sun. Every boat I've had, it's like a tradition. I got to bring it out here out front of the factory. For 2024, I went with a completely different color scheme that I had to ever use before. You're going to be able to see me coming. This boat's solid red. I think I like it though. Okay, so I get to take this thing home, put it in the shop. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I've got to figure out on this boat before it's getting rigging and performing the way that I want it to perform. You don't want to miss this next part. This is where all the hard work pays off. Taking a brand new boat to the lake for the first time will put a smile on anybody's face. I'm going to show you the 5 things that I think puts this boat head and shoulders above the rest. And after I get a couple of hours of break-in on this engine, I'll show you exactly how fast this boat is at wide open throttle. It's a long process to take one of these boats from scratch, from the mold all the way to a finished product. I enjoy every step of the process, but I feel like when you get to this part, we actually get to take the boat to the water, see what it runs like. Every boat, even though they're all built the exact same way, I feel like every boat has its own little distinct personality. There's maybe 1 or 2 boats out here that I would say you'd want to shy away from, but for the most part, there's a lot of good boats out there. But there's a few things that I feel like separate my boat from everybody else's. I think Falcon has done a really good job with that. One is being dependable. That's number 1 on my list, is I want a boat that's very dependable. I'll show you what I mean, but I don't mean dependability in the sense of what people traditionally think of when they say, I want my boat to be dependable. There's really two things that I think makes my boat dependable in particular. Quite honestly, all the boats out there, we pretty much have all the same technology. We're all pretty much building the boat and constructing them all the same way. For the most part, there's some differentiation in my boat between some other manufacturers, but the technology is all the same. There's no more wood in the boat. We're all composite at this point. We're all fiberglass transoms. Pretty much, it's a standard process of building for building a boat. One being the business end of the boat. When I say the business end, I'm really kind of talking about the back end of the boat. I didn't really realize this until I owned a couple boats. Like being able to rig my boat properly and have access to all my battery compartment in the event that I have something go wrong, which if you have a bass boat, I guarantee you know there's a lot of different things that go wrong on a boat. But having access to everything really easily, that creates dependability. You can see I got 2 power pole pumps here. What I like about them, I don't have to mount my power pole pumps any kind of goofy, crazy way. I've got plenty room. Dude, I could put 4 power poles on this boat if I need to. I've got access to all my bilge pumps, all my aerators. My 2D sonar puck is sitting right there in plain viz. If I need to get to it, if I need to re-epoxy it back to the bottom of the boat, it's sitting right there. I don't have to do anything. Same thing with my trolling motor batteries. When I come over here to my trolling motor batteries, I don't have to change anything. And my bilge is lit. Very important. You know when you have trouble, for some reason, you ever notice how it's always when it's dark outside? You know, over the years, after you rig a boat, you get to try different things and different setups. And I think I pretty much settled on a setup that I really like on this boat. This is my 6th Falcon. I started running Falcons in 2018, so 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 6th Falcon. And the setup that I pretty much settled in on that works best for me is a 24 Fury 4-blade. For you guys that are buying a Falcon, I always had the 20-foot model, F20. I always said F20 Predator. That's the boat that I've always run. But I've settled in on, I've run a bunch of different props and jack plate sizes, and I've always had a Mercury. I never ran a Mercury Pro XS. I always had the 2-stroke. I never ran the 2-stroke. I always had the 4-stroke models on this boat. I didn't bring a 2x4 today, so look what I'm using to buy my prop. But I use a 24 Fury 4-blade. I like an 8-inch jack plate, and that's my setup. I think that's what runs best on this boat. I've tried a couple other setups. I've tried the 24 3-blade, which you can see this prop is a 3-blade that I'm going to be running today. But I wanted to try it on this one because I went to a 10-inch jack plate this year. But you have to try different setups to see what you like the best. So that's why I'm running a 23 3-blade this year. Just switch it up to see if I like this one a little bit better. One thing I mentioned was having a dependable boat. There's 2 things. I mentioned the business end of the boat. Second thing that I think is important is, I don't think people think about this. I'm gonna set this down right here. I don't think people think about this when they're buying a boat, but the dealer network. Having a manufacturer that knows the boat, number one, answers the phone when you call, when I got a problem. Because a lot of times most of the time if I got an issue with my boat, I tore it up. I did it. So just being able to have somebody that can send me seat covers because my kid poked a hole in them, or send me the right color metal flake pretty easily, and having somebody that answers the phone when I pick up, that means a lot to me, because sometimes I might have an issue and I'm in Wisconsin. I might have an issue and I'm in Florida, and having a dealer close by or having a manufacturer that will pick up the phone and tell me what to do next, that creates dependability for me. Okay, let's do a walkover of this boat before I even put it in the water. If you're not familiar with it, this is a Falcon F20 Predator. There's 4 boat models at Falcon. There's an 18-foot model, a 19, a 20, and a 21. This is a 20-foot model. One thing is important to know, this boat is freaking wide. It's huge, dude. Biggest, I don't care what anybody says, this is the biggest deck in all of bass fishing. So much so that they even call our hashtag is hashtag big decks. The thing that's important, a lot of boats have a big beam here at the console, right? A lot of boats have a big beam here, but not a lot of boats carry the width towards the front. My boat carries the width all the way to the front. I don't have any funky edges. I don't have anything funky going on up front, any kind of funky angles. Everything makes sense up here at the bow of the boat, which gives you extra room. It looks good. It makes sense. Today I want to get my break-in time on my engine. After you get about 2 hours on it, you can run these motors for a short, brief time wide open. But I want to get some hours on my engine, just kind of get a feel for this boat. I got a tournament coming up next week. I haven't really said much about it, but this year I'm fishing the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit. I guess we changed it to Pro Circuit. It's not the Pro Circuit anymore, but I'm fishing the Major League Fishing Invitationals. And we start off at Sam Rayburn this year, which I suspect will probably be a lot of using my electronics a lot. So I'm going to try to get those dialed in today and just get some hours on my boat, and I'll show you guys, kind of do a walkthrough, and we'll see how fast this thing goes today. I just need to put 2 hours on it, and then we can see how fast this boat runs. So I'm gonna get that squared away. I'll put about 2 hours on it. After 2 hours, you can run your boat wide open. So after I get about 2 hours on it, I will try to get, we'll see how fast the boat runs. I got a new setup that I hadn't been running, so we'll see how fast the boat goes by the end of the day. Try out my trolling motor. I'm running a different trolling motor this year, running a Lowrance instead of a motor guide like I have in the past. So I want to see, just get a feel for it before I just show up to the tournament and take off fishing. It's pretty slick out here, so you won't be able to see how good it rides in rough water. I know that's always a question that people ask, but in my opinion, my boat, I wouldn't want to be caught in big water in anything else other than my boat. Who's ever owned a boat and say, oh man, my boat, it just sucks in big water? And not many people say that, unless they have like a John boat or something. Okay, first ride in the Falcon, my 2024 edition. Let's see how this guy runs. 250 Pro XS, 23 Tempest, 10-inch jack plate. Let's check out our hole shot. Definitely comes out of the hole really good. Once I get 2 hours on this boat, once I get 2 hours on it, then we can kind of take it wide open and see how fast it'll go today. But we'll just do some riding around. We'll stop every once in a while and I'll show you some things on the boat that I changed this year that I didn't have last year. Hole shot looks pretty good on it. I'm actually, you know, I don't have much tackle in here yet, almost no tackle. How it runs with a tournament load is what's important. I mean, just about every boat's gonna come out of the hole real good with nothing in it. I think I may have about 20 gallons of fuel in here, so not a lot of fuel. Last year I ran a 8-inch jack plate, and it seems like this one is staying hooked up better when I'm in my turns. I ran an 8-inch last year, and see like I'm turning right now and the boat's staying hooked up. I even ran a 4-blade. Typically a 4-blade will stay hooked up better, but with an 8-inch jack plate you do get a little bit more blowing out. This prop is staying hooked up pretty good. Like I'll do a tight turn. Like it still hasn't blown out. Like that's tight. I like that. So, if you're wondering, you might be wondering like, why is that important? I was talking about when I go to make deep turns and I'm kind of being pretty aggressive with the steering. Why is that important? Well, a lot of times when you're in a creek, or if just say somebody runs out in front of you, a jet ski or another boat, you want that boat to react to your steering on the spot. You don't want to steer to the left and then the boat just kind of starts sliding, or it blows out, loses its traction. If you lose traction, if the prop loses its grip, you're not steering it. You steer a boat with the propulsion.
And so if it blows out, if you hear, you know, when you turn, you hear all that loud noise, you don't have control of the boat. So it's very important for your boat to stay hooked up. If it stays hooked up, you have good control, you maintain control of the boat. Which is one reason I'll run a hydraulic jack plate. I didn't talk about that. We probably should go somewhere and talk about some of the other things that I have on the boat. But one reason I run a hydraulic jack plate is boat control. Most people talk about a hydraulic jack plate, the first thing they start talking about is the fact that you can get in shallow water. That's very important. Yes, with a hydraulic jack plate, you can get into shallow water. But my main motivation for a jack plate is the fact that I have control over my boat. When I lower that motor into the water, it increases the traction, the grip that my prop has, the steering that my prop has, so I have full control over which way my boat goes. If I need to make a quick correction, with that motor jammed all the way down to the transom, I have complete control. If I need speed, if I need access to shallow water, then I'll lift my motor up. When I lift the motor up, that lets me get to max RPM. I can carry more RPMs, carry more speed. Likewise, if I got a big guy in here and I need my prop to have more traction, I'll let it down a quarter inch, a half inch. It's those small micro adjustments that make a huge difference on a bass boat, because they're working off of hydraulics and aerodynamics. So having a boat that you can make those micro adjustments on the fly, that's how you get speed, that's how you get efficiency, and that's how you get boat control. So to me, that's very important. So this year I'm running 2 HDS 12 units on my boat. I have one on the console, and I also have one up there on the bow as well. This one here on the console is equipped with both 2D sonar, of course mapping with the C-map system, and I also have side imaging, side scan, so I can idle and find fish. I've got to get all this stuff dialed in as well. But that's how I run my units. You can see I got a bunch of tackle in my boat so far. Only thing I have in here is last week, Mark Daniels and we actually filmed a TV show doing some crappie fishing, so I have some crappie jigs in here now from when we went crappie fishing. But here's a really cool part of my boat that I think you guys can appreciate is this tackle tray. What I usually do is the things that I use on the regular, I'll put right here in this tackle tray. And so I have easy access to them. So like hooks, sinkers, things like that you're always going to be digging in your box to get, I usually put them right here in this box. But the sliding tray has been a quote unquote game changer for me. I'll call this is one of Falcon's signatures right here. This is what they call their ERA rod access. What that means is exterior rod access. A lot of boats have only access to the rod locker from inside of the boat. Rod locker open this way, you pull it back and you try to get into your rods. You might can get in it from the backside, you can get in it from here, but you will not get in it from the outside of the boat, which means you have to get in the boat to get access to your rods. Well, the ERAs, you see it opens from front to back, and now I can get my rods from here, I can get them from there, and I can get them from outside. Not only that, when you do have, and somebody always tries to debunk this, but it's proven. I mean, trust me, if it was a deal where you would drop your rods into the water, I would not be running it. But the other thing is, this also keeps you, if you've ever thrown a rod in the water from opening your rod locker when you have rods on the front deck, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But this also eliminates the fact that when you lift up your rod locker like this, that your rods go dunking into the water. I've noted from past videos that I've done is that the fact that the hinges are on the front, I think a lot of folks think that somehow it'll be a less sturdy composition, but you do have 2 gas shocks. Most lids have 1 gas shock. I've got 2 gas shocks plus the lid, and these are aluminum lids, so they're sturdy, good material to work with. You don't have to worry about that. In 7 years, I've had no problems with my ERA rod lockers. You will be okay, I promise you, Billy. When I think about the context of building the perfect bass boat, is having waterproof compartments. Think about it. You've got thousands and thousands of dollars of tackle in your tackle locker, and if that stuff gets wet, it's super inconvenient to replace hooks, to replace a bunch of different wet plastics. Being able to leave my plastics in my boat without them getting wet and having the inconvenience of taking it in and out, dude, that's a huge win for me. That's how you get to a perfect bass boat. Little things like having true dry storage, that means a lot to me. All right, new for me for 24 is running a Lowrance Ghost. Let me know if you guys, anybody in the comments section has ever ran a Lowrance Ghost. Let me know how you like it. This is my first time running a Ghost, actually. It's definitely quiet, that's for sure. Not much, yeah, it's really quiet. Even when I turn the head, not really loud. Of course, it does have anchor mode. I think you can put these other buttons on the side of the trolling motor to, you can pretty much design them the way you want them. You can make your power poles, you can link them to your power poles. You may even be able to link them to your transducers. I'm not really sure. All right, let's go put a few more hours on the engine. We're getting close to that 2-hour mark, and now I can start to give it short burst of wide open throttle so we can see how this boat runs compared to some of my other boats. If you're gonna build a boat and call it the perfect bass boat, it's gotta be fast. Can't be slow. If it's not 70, and what I call fast, 70 plus miles an hour. And I know it's gonna be somebody out there with one of these boats that have run 80, 85 miles an hour. But here's the difference between my boat and your boat, Gerald. You can't go across Lake Erie. As soon as you get a little chop out on the water, you got to trim yours down and sit down. When you got a big boat with a platform, footprint like this one, it don't matter what it is. 70 miles per hour is about where you want to be. I don't care what you buy. I hope you buy a Falcon, but if you don't, 70 miles an hour is no reason for a boat with a 250 horsepower engine. There's no reason it shouldn't be able to run 70 plus miles an hour. That's the mark for me. Consistently running 70 miles per hour. That's a part of the formula of being a perfect bass boat. So what we're gonna do, I got my 2 hours on my engine. Let's see how fast this boat will go. It's gonna be a little bit harder for me to document this. I might set the camera up on the dock at the ramp so you guys can see the bow lift and see how the boat handles. But I did strap my GoPro on. I got a chesty on. So you'll be able to see it here. I'll tune my graphs. I'm going to set my graphs, I'm going to set the instruments so I can see my speed over ground, and hopefully you'll be able to catch that on my GoPro because I know how that goes. We'll do the best we can to document this. I'm by myself. This is a self-documented film here, so you have to get the best you can get out of it. Okay, here we go. Full throttle trimmed all the way down, running 50 miles an hour. That's pretty good. 60 miles an hour, and now you got to try to start driving the boat a little bit. Just kind of got to manage that balance. We're close to 70. And there's 70 miles an hour. That's okay. I feel like we should be able to get 3 or 4 miles an hour out of this boat. Everything's working in our favor to run 73 to 75 right now. I've seen that before in these boats, so let me try a quick adjustment with my hydraulic. That's the beauty of a hydraulic jack plate. Back in the day, we used to have to put the boat back on the trailer and adjust our manual height just a 1/4 inch or so. A 1/4 inch makes a big difference on these boats. All right, let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. This is why you got to take a boat to the lake and tweak it out. Everybody thinks you just jump in these boats and you get the most out of them right out of the box. I spend a significant amount of time every year just trying to get this part of this boat just right. That's just a part of being a gearhead. I mean, my son races dirt bikes, I rode dirt bikes. I've always had a fascination with fast boats. I don't really care how fast I run just when it's just me on a perfect day. How fast is this boat consistently is what I want. Let's try it again. That time with the jack plate all the way down. I usually always start with the jack plate all the way at the bottom. We got it right on the dot, 70 miles an hour. I'm not happy with that. With the boat being empty, a cold day like this, I think we should be able to squeeze another 3-4 mile an hour out of it. So my solution, I can already tell you, I want to get my other prop. I've been running the 24 Fury 4-blade. Most guys are running 23s. A couple things I didn't like about this 23 3-blade. Number one, when I would trim it up, I had a lot of porpoising. I mean bow to stern porpoising. I don't mind duck walking left or right. I can drive it out of that. But when it's doing this, I can't drive it out of there. It didn't matter if I trimmed the boat up or trimmed it down. It didn't handle that very well. So I'm definitely going back to my 4-blade Fury 4. I feel like I can get 3 or 4 miles an hour out of it. I was turning about 5,900 RPM right there. You want to get this motor to at least 6. In my opinion, the Mercury Pro XS, it doesn't really make very good power until you get 6,000. 6,000 to 6, I think the rev limit is 6,300. Look at the manual and check the specs on it, but I want to say it's about 6,300 is where the rev limiter is. 6,000 at least. I would rather just be hitting the rev limiter, especially by myself, no people in here, not that much gas and no tackle. I'd rather be almost bumping that rev limiter right now. So we're going to put some time in it. This is not finished.
I think I'm gonna like a lot of this new equipment that I'm using on this boat. It just needs a lot of tweaking. It's gonna take some time, and that's what I'll spend most of this week doing. I think we're on our way to making that perfect bass boat. The core is there, but we still got a little bit of work to do. I can see it. I do think there's one more element that makes a boat perfect, and I mean, it's the obvious one. If you're gonna have a perfect bass boat, it's gotta look good. It looks good on the water. It has a really sleek design. I don't like boats that have like a really bulky design. This boat, it looks really sleek. It looks like it's going 100 miles an hour. All the curves, all the lines, they make sense. It's just, it's a sexy boat. Can you say, I guess you can say that on YouTube, right? It's a sexy boat to me. I think it just looks really good. It looks like it's made to go fast. One thing that turns me on with the boat is how the badging is done. Too much badging, it can really make a boat look unattractive to me. A really busy lines on it. I like the fact that the bird head on our boat doesn't overpower the natural shape and the natural lines of the boat. They just kind of let the boat do the branding. And I'm really pleased with the way these boats turn out every single year. I still got quite a bit of tweaking to do on the boat, but it is definitely coming together. And I'm looking forward to taking it back home, stuffing it with tackle, and getting ready for the first tournament. If you got any questions about this boat, feel free to reach out in the comment section. I always check them all out.